You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 277, How to Feel Loved This Valentine's Day, even if you're newly single. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, my beautiful brave hearts. I love you so much. I personally have been reflecting a lot. I kind of wonder if this is like a core theme of a lot of people or if it's just me, but I recently gave birth to my baby Teddy, and I'm almost 4 months postpartum, and obviously a lot has happened in those 4 months. I became a mom, and then my dad was also diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I've healed a deep wound with my mother in being postpartum. It's interesting, like after having a baby, I almost feel more like a baby. Like I want my mom more now that because I am a mom. I don't know how to put that, but it's a weird experience. So then also my last living grandmother passed away of dementia. So it's been interesting to say the least. There's been a lot of ups and downs, and it's just been a different experience. And I've been contemplating a lot and reflecting a lot in various ways. One of the things that I keep thinking is like, if I could take photos of this life that I'm living right now and send them to my past self in 2016, the version of me that felt like she had just lost everything, and show her just like how much freedom I gained in losing everything. She had really just gained a ticket to do life her way instead of her ex's way. And I think that that's been really hitting me hard in the last couple of months of just having so much freedom to be on maternity leave, freedom because I live where I wanted to, freedom in doing what I love to do for work, freedom to be able to take care of my dad. There's just so many things they're like coming to fruition now. And that 2016 year version of me, I was 26 at the time. I'm constantly wondering what she would think if she saw this right now. And I'm just curious. Are you guys wondering this? Are you contemplating stuff like this, or is it just me? But today I woke up and I was like, I want this week's episode, the week of Valentine's Day, to be all about love. I want you to feel and experience love this week, no matter where you are in your breakup journey. I know we have a variety of individuals, variety of brave hearts listening in to the podcast. And then also we have our 5-day training, our 5-day How to Get Over Your Ex training live happening this week. So for sure, come join us there if you're feeling lonely or afraid right now. I'm there for you. All you have to do is ask for my help. And then, of course, in this week's episode, I'm going to talk all about the love that I've experienced in some of my past relationships. Also, just total side note, I apologize. I'm going to pause for a second. We have the Get Over Your Ex program opening on Thursday, the 13th, February the 13th. Huge deal. It's been closed since I was on maternity leave. It is now open for enrollment on February 13th. And you get an awesome bonus if you sign up on Valentine's Day or before Valentine's Day. So if you want to check that out, head that way. I'll put both of the links for the 5-day training and the Get Over Your Ex program in the show notes, but let's move forward. So today I am going to talk to you about 3 relationships. I've been in a lot of relationships in my life. Most of them have been long-term relationships, 2 years or more. And I did a whole podcast episode actually in May of 2021 that talks about all of my lessons learned from all of my exes, which was a super fun episode if you'd like to go back. But today I really want to talk to you about 3 core relationships. And I want to talk to you about the relationship where I was left, I was broken up with. I want to talk to you about the second one, would being the relationship where I did the leaving, where I broke up with somebody else. And the last relationship is where I learned how to stay. So we're going to be talking about being left, leaving, and staying, and where love falls within each of these. And I know I normally give you one specific problem with one specific solution and next steps in my episode. So this week is a little bit different, but I do hope you stick around to hear about each of these experiences. There's gold in each one that you can take and implement no matter where you are in your breakup journey. And honestly, you guys, I've been thinking about this for a long time. I would love to have a three-part book series, one book on each of these different love stories. So this is my first time just putting them out into the world like this. I hope they turn into books. I'm just going to put that out there into the universe. And yeah, thank you for listening. I'm so excited to have you here on the episode, and let's get started. All right, so relationship number 1. This is the relationship where I was left. I feel like titling these, it's kind of fun. They're like Friends episodes. The one where I was left. So this is where Breakup Coach Dorothy LLC was born. This rocked my world, together with this man for 7 years who left me for another girl. He broke up with me on the phone while I was away at a work trip in Chicago. And when I came home to get my stuff, there was already another girl living in my house. And all of my stuff was piled up in the entryway. So that was really difficult. I spent a year and a half Googling how to get over your ex, how to forgive and let go, how to move on when your ex moved on quickly, and was met with so much advice on the internet that wasn't that great. It was, it just takes time to heal, go no contact. It was addressing a lot of breakup symptoms. Now, I am not someone who just takes advice and waits. I really did that work. I was no contact for a whole year and a half. I waited for time. I did all the things. I journaled, I meditated, I got in the best shape of my life, I traveled, and still I was not over him. And that's where I learned some of the biggest life lessons that actually got me over my ex, and then made it my mission to help other amazing human beings heal heartbreak differently, which is what this entire podcast is founded on. All of my life lessons are in this episode or in this podcast, but I'll go over 3 of those life lessons that will remain with me from that experience for forever. So the first one of the 3 lessons here is the thoughts create feelings. It didn't matter how much time went by. If my thoughts and my perceptions didn't change, neither would my feelings. I learned how to change the story in my mind to change how I felt, and this forever changed my life. The second one is it's always happening for me and not to me. Life does not just happen to us, my friends. We create it, and the component that we don't have control over is the universe, God, a higher power. And if we can believe anything we want, I choose to believe it is always happening for me and not to me. I always believe that it's a reordering anytime something falls away in my life, a reordering, a shift in energy, making way for something that's even more aligned to me. And the third thing is anger is only hurting me, not my ex. I am telling you, I genuinely believed that the longer I stayed angry at my ex, the more it would impact or hurt him. And it was a feeling of unfairness, right? What happened was not okay. I wanted justice. I really wanted the breakup police to arrive and write him a ticket for what he had done. And I was just confused as to how there were so many people in the world who were so okay with what happened. And I thought if I stayed angry, it was productive. But eventually I realized that my anger was the only thing that was truly harming myself. It was harming me. And my ex was off living his life totally unaffected by the rage that I experienced every single day. So releasing that anger was a gift to myself and not to him. And that is a lesson I've carried through for my whole life since I've realized that and learned that. So for each of these experiences, I want to leave a message, whether this message is for myself in a future life or whether this message is for you. I want to have a message from each of these experiences. And the message that I have for my past self who was left and broken up with, who was dealing with heartbreak on a level she never even knew existed, this is what I would say. I know it hurts. I know it feels like your whole world just left. It's hard to know what to trust. Your biggest beliefs have collapsed. But this is making room for a life that is bigger and better than the one that you had in mind. You're going to have a partner who loves you for who you are and not in spite of it. You'll be in a relationship where you're not afraid of him leaving anytime you do something wrong. You'll have a relationship where he holds you close and tells you everything is going to be okay when you're feeling unsettled instead of getting mad at you. You'll create the lifestyle you had with him for yourself in a way where if someone chooses not to be with you, they won't take that lifestyle with them. You get to keep it. You have it no matter who's in your life, which creates a sense of peace and calmness for you. So you don't feel attached to people. You get whatever you want, regardless of what your relationship status is. And the kicker to it all is this: it's going to be easier without him in your life. And it might not feel like it in the beginning, but you get to live in an apartment you love because you don't have him putting it down. You get to live where you want to live because you don't have to compromise. You get to make money in a way you want and love. You get to work remote. You get to travel. You get to do and make so many decisions and spend your money, time, and energy in ways that light you up instead of worrying about what he'll think or say, and instead of constantly begging him to come with, instead of compromising all of the time. Your bigger and better life is right around the corner. And although this is hard, staying with the wrong person, being with someone who doesn't want to be with you is harder. All right. So let's venture into relationship number 2. Okay. This is the relationship where I did the leaving. Leaving is equally as difficult, Bravehearts, as being left. It's just in a different way. So my relationship after the big breakup was with a wonderful man, and I dated him for 4 years. I will always speak highly of this person, and the person who ends up with him as a husband is lucky, and I hope they are grateful for him every single day. Now, this is the relationship where I experienced unconditional love for the first time. The experience of being in a relationship with someone who is so secure in themselves. It was crazy. I wasn't worried of him leaving. I knew he loved me no matter what. I could make really big mistakes and he would always work through them with me. Even if he was mad at me or upset with me, he would never threaten leaving. He would just work through it with me. And the healing I had to do personally around jealousy was healing. I did a lot of healing in an isolated way, but there was a lot of healing that needed to be done while in a relationship, and he was able to hold space for that. So this was the first relationship where I had thought work, where I learned thoughts create feelings, where I was in a relationship and knew that thoughts create feelings and could learn how to work with my emotions and not react to them. And what was fascinating was the amount of thought work that I did in this relationship. I really wanted to travel and move to Florida. I had this idea that we'd travel the world together. And for some reason, it just kept not happening. It was weird because I would take steps all the time towards creating a remote job, creating a job where I had enough money to travel, and making it so that we could travel. But I don't know if you've ever, Bravehearts, I'm actually very curious. Have you ever been in a situation where you're constantly trying to fight for something in your partnership? Like it felt like I was constantly making a PowerPoint presentation as to why we should do something, like selling them on the idea. It was something I really wanted to do in life. It felt like a calling, yet the things that I wanted didn't seem to be callings for him. So we'd keep hitting roadblock after roadblock, having the same conversation with no forward momentum. And it finally got to the point where I was doing all the things that I wanted to do, but I was doing them on my own or with my friend or with other coaches. And they were things that I actually wanted to be doing with my partner. And so even though I was in a relationship, there were components of that relationship where I just felt so lonely, even though I wasn't alone. So it really became time that I was like, I can live anywhere. I've been wanting to live where I vacation and near my family. And I begged him to come with me. And I tried everything I could to get him to come with me and be on board. And he didn't want to. And honestly, I respect him for staying in his truth for what he wanted. That is not an easy thing either, because I think when you truly love someone, you want to give them everything. So you start to bend and morph yourself into what you think they want. And he didn't do that. He really stood true to himself and what he wanted. For living in Florida was not aligned to him, but it was aligned to me, and it was a constant pull that I had to do in my life. So I left, we split up, we had we had already done long distance from Chicago to Boston, and I wasn't about to do long distance with no end date in sight. I really wanted to move into this next phase of life of living where I wanted to live, building a home, creating a family, and yeah. So I would say like the main life lessons that I learned in this relationship were twofold. The first one being, you really can't force someone to want what you want. And this is a hard truth, right? When you feel like you're constantly fighting for something that your soul says is for you, and you're making presentations to get your partner on board, but they aren't, whether that's literal presentations or hypothetical ones, you have to accept that. You cannot change someone. They have to want to change. And perhaps that change you're asking of someone isn't that person's soul calling. Like they're not even supposed to change. So when I think about my ex, where he is in his life seems very fitting for him from the outside. I don't know where he is anymore. I don't know if he's married, if he's not married. I don't know anything about him. But from what I saw, it seems like he's fitting and living the life that he wants. And let's be honest, when you love someone, the highest form of love is letting them be who they want to be and loving them anyways. And it doesn't mean you choose to be their partner. You can love someone and also choose to not be life partners with that person. What? Crazy, right? Now, the second life lesson that I had in this experience is it's really hard to leave when you have almost everything you want. This man was an amazing partner, and we had almost everything that I wanted in a partnership. It was so hard to leave. It took me almost 1.5 years and 2 failed attempts of leaving. But in the long run, I was being called to a different life, and I had to fulfill that calling. Leaving wasn't easier, but I wanted a different reality. So I had to make a different decision. And my coach at the time said, "You're leaving a good life for a great one." But I'm telling you, it was so uncomfortable. So sometimes the right decision is a decision that brings a lot of discomfort to you. So the message that I'd say to my past self who was leaving, one that might resonate with you if you're in the process of leaving your relationship, is this. You have to fulfill who you are meant to be in this lifetime. It is hard to leave, but it's also hard to stay in an environment where you aren't getting to fulfill who you truly want to be and are constantly trying to sell the rest of the world in that version instead of just stepping into that version of yourself. You can love someone and also choose to leave. And honestly, leaving frees them up to fulfill exactly who they want to be in this lifetime. And you're wondering what happens when you jump and you think you might fall, but darling, what if you fly? One of my favorite quotes, right? You can leave a good life for a great life, and it is going to be okay. All right, so relationship number 3. This is the one where I stayed. What? This was so hard. It's such an interesting experience. So it's actually taken me years to talk about this openly, but my most recent relationship, the one that I have with my husband, I love him so much. We have been through a ridiculous amount of things. We have accomplished so much in such a short time frame. I met him in college. We remained friends, but I didn't begin like a romantic partnership with him until 2021. Now, we experienced an ectopic pregnancy at the end of 2021. We got engaged at the beginning of 2022. We went through a miscarriage at the end of 2022, where that very much rocked both of our worlds. We called off our engagement and we reevaluated our relationship. We spent the year of 2023 healing individually and then choosing to actively stay in our partnership and work on that and work through healing together. And then at the end of 2023, we got re-engaged. We got pregnant in January 2024. We got married on Leap Day in February of 2024. And we had our first child in October of 2024. And that whole ride blows my mind so much in such a short time frame. So I am so proud of him. I'm proud of myself, and I'm really proud of the relationship and the foundation and the family that we've built. It's shown me a lot. And I think there are a couple of main life lessons that I learned from this, from staying, and I want to share them. So the first one is it's shown me that I got really used to leaving. If something didn't work, I was of the mindset to just leave. My solution to problems became leave. And the relationship around me in life that I look up to, 30 plus year marriages that I look up to, their default thinking is not to leave. I think of my cousin and her husband. They have a relationship that is my favorite to watch, and they have been together forever. They're each other's partner in crime. And I remember her telling me that I quickly jump to leaving when there's always a solution. And going through the earth-shattering loss of baby Marilyn, it didn't just rock my world, it rocked my husband's world as well. And something we were both so sure of, which was having children, that brought us together as a romantic couple, was really being tested. It ripped us apart in many ways. The way he responded to trauma was one way, while mine was another. Neither of them were right or wrong, but they were very, very different. Both of us questioning what we wanted to do in very different ways. I wanted to have a child immediately after, and he was questioning whether or not he wanted children at all. And if it wasn't something that he wanted anymore, do we even stay together? And my cousin kept saying to me, let go of the kid thing. You have to decide whether or not you want to be in a relationship regardless of kids, which was the opposite of the way I had been making decisions about relationships up until this point. So I had to heal individually first. Who was I now? Why was I so attached to kids? Are children a soul calling? I reevaluated everything and came to my own conclusions separately from my husband. And in the end, I chose to stay, knowing that I was also potentially choosing a life that was child-free. And I felt really good and really free in that. But it took, a lot of internal work, which I have on a completely different podcast. Now, staying, it became clear in that experience, though, that staying was my work. Now, the other thing that I realized was that staying does take two people. I was taught that it only takes one. You can work on a relationship and it only takes you, which I think works to an extent. But I read a life-changing book by Terrence Real called Us, and it talks about toxic individuality and the culture we've created around doing isolated healing work, and I agree with it. We can do so much healing in isolation. I am a huge advocate of it. I'm a huge advocate of learning how to self-regulate. And you can do all of that, and you need to do your own work. But a relationship is with two people. It is co-regulation. It is together. There is some healing that can only take place while in relationships. And it does take the other person to be willing to do that work. The part that only takes one is one person shifting their energy and deciding what they are available for. And there was a point in which I had to stand in my own groundedness and say, hey, here's what I'm at. Here's where I'm at. Here's what I'm available for. And what I'm seeing right now is not what I'm available for. Now, that energy shift in me created an environment in which my husband could show up if he wanted to, and he did. But if he didn't, we wouldn't have survived. And it takes the other person genuinely wanting to be in a partnership and trying to make it work. There were times where we both were unsure, but we stayed. We both chose to stay, even in the unknown. So that was a huge lesson. Another lesson was, if someone really wants to, they will make it work with you. And this requires action, not just words. Trust me when I say we have had many conversations, but where movement and progress happened was with action. I gave my husband 3 options when I was at my breaking point, and he chose one and he did it. Now, the action followed through, and that was the only way we made progress, which, by the way, was amazing action. We read the book Us by Terrence Real together and had a book club, just him and I, every Wednesday, where we would discuss it and implement what we were learning. And I am not kidding when I say it saved us. So the message that I'd say to my past self, who is really having a hard time staying, one that might resonate with you if you're in the process of learning to stay in a relationship, is this. I know it's hard right now, and it feels like y'all aren't on the same team, but I promise you that you are. You both want the same thing, a healthy partnership, a happy life, and to be loved as your genuine self. Make the shift for yourself, be clear about who you are and what you stand for, and allow space for him to show up for that. Love him, and most importantly, love yourself fiercely during this time, knowing that the healing is happening for you and for him, no matter your relationship status. There is a solution to what you're experiencing, and your bigger and better life can be in this relationship. He loves you deeply, and you love him deeply, even though loss lingers in the air. Staying is where your growth is right now, and learning to stay is teaching you lessons you didn't know existed. And staying is leading you to a deeper version of yourself. Now, brave hearts, no matter where you are right now, I urge you to think of your future self. That version of you who's out of the weeds of whatever situation you're in the moment, and let her write to the present version of you. What would she say to you? You could write to her, right? What are the biggest lessons you've learned from this experience? What is leading you to? What is it leading you to? And honestly, my friends, I would love to hear from you. What came up for you as you're listening to these lessons from myself? And then what kind of lessons come through to you? What lessons have resonated with you most? Where are you in your journey? Were you left? Did you do the leaving, or were you working on staying? Find me on Instagram at Breakup Coach Dorothy and let me know. I love hearing from you. Now, I hope you have a beautiful Valentine's Day week. This is a week that can be filled with past, present, and future love. Look at your previous loves and find your lessons. Look at your current love and direct towards yourself. And visualize your future love. I love you, my brave hearts. No matter where you are in your journey, it is going to be okay. I'm here for it, and I can't wait to talk to you next time.
If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.